Hello, Internet. Gino, that Pinguino Greco here again with another episode of Deep Listens. And today we're going to be gathering magics once again, but not a preview podcast because we don't know all of the cards yet for Guilds of Ravnica, which means that we're going to hold off until we have all the cards. But there's another kind of interesting topic, Magic the Gathering Arena, an online free-to-play version of Magic the Gathering that's kind of competing with Magic the Gathering Online, which is the old kind of legacy version of playing Magic Online. And I figured it might be good to look at the two different online options and kind of compare and contrast them for players who are looking to play online. Maybe you don't have a local community, maybe you need to supplement how you play, maybe you're just looking to get practice during your downtime, and it'd be good to know what the pros and cons of these are. Now, Arena's in beta, but it's a pretty full-fledged product at this point, and they're taking your money if you get into the beta. So it's worth knowing what the pros and cons of each of these are and whether they're worth your time and energy. So to discuss this, I thought it'd be good to have the podcast's own Magic expert, Kyle Math Magician Moran. Hello.
Hey, how's it going, Gino?
Good. How are you doing?
I'm good. Just getting up Sunday afternoon.
Nice. It is time for magicking once again, and in this pod, I will probably be taking more of the role of the Magic Arena MTGA, the MTGA.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Expert, and you're more of the MTGO expert.
Mm-hmm. And I think I've been playing this for about 5 years now, so learn the ins and outs of this program per se.
Yeah, I've been playing Arena for about 2 months now, I would say. Since I got into the beta, and I think I've got a good feel of the pros and cons. At the very least, the amount of hours I've put into it, I should.
Oh, yeah, no, even though 2 months was fine, the Arena just simply hasn't been around for that long, so 2 months is actually quite a substantial amount of time, given that.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting to look at these two pieces of software, because they're both trying to reproduce a physical card game, and it seems like when you describe it that way, it seems like it should be pretty straightforward. However, Magic is basically a game that's adding mechanics constantly, and each mechanic, if you think of it as a coder, like explaining the mechanic in plain language can be very easy or seem simple, but making code such that the game will always behave correctly and can take on all of the different states that the paper form can is actually not trivial at all.
Yeah, no, I have the highest respect for the people who code both Magic Arena and Magic Online. Like, my coding background's not that deep, but it's deep enough to know this is a hard game to program. Like, the amount of weird interactions that even when you're playing in paper, you're not exactly sure how they work. Trying to make a computer be able to interpret that in literally millions of situations that could be like the first time it's ever encountered a situation, given people play literally anything from like some weird like Panglacial Worm, which hasn't worked on Moto for 3 years now. Yep, Panglacial Worm has been bugged. Yeah, I know, right?
I would want to play That's a card that every time I'm looking at a deck that's searching its library often, I'm like, what if I put Panglacial Worm in here?
Yeah, that's the thing. I could only imagine that's just a programming nightmare. But yes, that just hasn't worked for 3 years.
That's good.
It was funny because I actually have had Panglacial Worm casted against me in Modern. My opponent was playing Tron, and he cracked his Expedition map, and then a Panglacial Worm came out, and I was like, what the fuck is happening right now? Yeah.
So, as you've just explained, it does not always work.
Yep.
The online representations of these games do not always work. So, let's start with, how do you think the actual representation of the game is in Magic Online? How does it recreate the actual paper game?
Yeah, so Magic Online, in the very bare bones sense, I think does a very good job at recreating how you actually play Magic. It actually goes a level deeper than most players do when they play Magic, because every single trigger and all like the little bare bones mechanics of Magic are very meticulously gone through when you play on Magic Online. So you actually enhance, at least for me, I didn't really understand how the stack worked until I played Magic Online, because the computer program went through the stack every little step how all priority works, how priority is given throughout the phases of Magic. So actually, I think like Magic Online is even better at representing a game of Magic than two people who are playing in paper. That's like one of its best qualities, hands down. However, if you try and like the program is still pretty like if you're trying to go for a gameplay experience, it's not quite as good because you just like all the cards are little squares. There's not much. It's kind of almost like an online those like online chess things. If you see those are like everywhere, if you can literally Google like online chess, it has a very similar feel to that. But if you want to play Magic, like and you just want to like get better at Magic, Magic Online is incredible for doing that, and that is its best quality, I think.
Yeah, the rules, it will take care of the rules for you. It will kind of explain why everything's happening when it's happening. It looks, like you said, like a chess program. It's not attractive in any way.
Not at all. Very unattractive.
It works.
It does.
The thing you would say is it works.
Besides like the little bugs, like the core program does what it should do. Like there's little kinks, but like for the most part, that doesn't matter that much.
Yeah, and that it only really comes up. There are a few little things with Magic Online. There are individual cards that are bugged, which will happen. But there's also some deck style. There's also a chess clock that is happening at all times for both players. So anytime you have priority, if you do not pass it, you are counting down from, 25 minutes?
Yeah, it's the base for like competitive leagues is 25 minutes, but if you're like in a casual game with your friend, you can set that to 10, 25, or 50 minutes. So if you're playing an EDH game, you can set it to 15. It's not a huge deal. But yeah, that's a huge thing I actually forgot to mention. I'm happy you brought that up. They kind of, you lose a little bit of, when you're playing slower decks, you have a bigger cost on Magic Online because of this thing you're mentioning. Because like in most games, as long as you play at a reasonable pace, you're fine. But if you just play a deck that takes inherently longer to make decisions, even if it's still reasonable, you get punished for that.
Yeah. So you can definitely – there are some decks that if you just want to play, you're just going to get – you'll lose games that it's not because you're playing poorly or even that you're playing all that slow. You can just run into matchups where the game gets strung out, and if you're not proficient at navigating the software, you will lose. Like, if you don't realize that priority is passed to you or something, you will lose. If you don't know the hotkeys to pass priority quickly, you can end up getting nickel and dimed. Like, let's say you play one long game that's really long and it needed to be long, and then you're playing a second, you go to game 3, and you're not proficient at passing priority. You know, every time priority shifts to you, it can take 3-5 seconds for you to press the button if you're not proficient. And all of a sudden, all those little priority shifts that happen over the course of a game will add up to you wasting 5 minutes.
Out of your 25, which is like a huge deal.
And that can just, you lose on the spot, regardless of board state. It doesn't go to turns. It doesn't do anything like that. So
you could literally be up a game. It could be 1-0 in your favor, and you just lose. It's great. It's insane.
That's kind of insane, and it also means that certain deck styles are much, much, much less viable when you're playing on Magic Online. If you're playing a combo deck with an infinite loop, you cannot represent the infinite loop and say, I do this 1,000 times, which is what you can do in physical. You can say, here's my loop, you prove that it's a loop, and then you can tell someone, hey, I'm going to do this 1,000 times and kill you. In Magic Online, if you want to do a loop 1,000 times, you need to do it 1,000 times.
That's like the worst thing. I was gonna bring that up. Like the one of the biggest decks in mine right now is like the Devoted to a Duskwatch Recruiter deck. That deck, you just can't really win with it because it takes like 10 minutes to kill your opponent, and you only get 25. So
exactly. And then you've also got some decks that just like put a lot of triggers on the stack. Like, for example, Krark Clan Ironworks. That deck is not an infinite loop, but it loops a lot, and it puts a lot of triggers on the stack. And if you screw that up, or like with a misclick or anything, or if it just takes a while for you to execute, like that deck you can fizzle out after 10 minutes of comboing. And on Magic Online, that costs you the game on the spot.
Yeah. Even back in, it's crazy. Even in Standard, I remember back when Saheeli Feldar was legal and I started playing that on Magic Online, just like clicking the cat 20 times, even something as simple as that took a substantial amount of time. So you had to like click the card, then move the target over, then click the blank target. Like in order to make like one thing, you have to do like 10 clicks. And I'm like proficient at using Magic Online. It took me a while. it's kind of like driving a car in that sense, where like when you just start, you're almost certainly going to misclick or click on the wrong thing at the wrong time. That's going to cost you the match for something stupid. But you just gotta like get used to it. It's not really you can do about it.
Yeah, and that brings up another point with Magic Online is misclicks. If you click something or pass priority with a hotkey, there's no backseas. There's no oops. There's no are you sure you want to do that? It just happens. It will take the action. So if you click on a Bomat Courier when you're you're, say, for example, in your main phase instead of your combat phase, it will activate the Bomat Courier's ability.
One thing you can it. Yeah, one thing you can do to like fight that's true, but one thing you do to fight against that is click on the card that you want to activate first and then pay for its cost. Because if you like just click on something, it'll like make you say pay like that much mana or do that thing or whatever before it actually does it. So if you get into that habit early, if you accidentally click on something, it just will like say pay the cost and you can click cancel and then kind of not get wrecked by a play that you didn't even mean to make.
But if you like floated mana and then click on a thing.
That's what I'm saying. You got to get into that habit of not floating the mana first. It's easy to get into. I made a lot of mistakes that way, but
yeah, and that's a thing that Magic Online it comes up. It certainly comes up where you pass and then crap, I pressed the button one too many times because I knew that I had a stop put here. And another thing I guess is stops.
Oh, the stops. The pre-stops are so bad.
You need to manually tell the game what phases you care about. And if you don't, it will pass right over them.
Yep. Yeah, that's like one thing. If you're just picking up Magic Online, first thing you do, set your stops. Oh my God, I lost so many matches when I was just first picking up Magic Online because I didn't understand why the stops were like going through my second main phase or something ridiculous like that. And it was just so bad. Just first thing you do, open up the program, set your stops. Go to settings. It's in account. Yeah, it's in your account. You go to account settings. Do that.
Yeah, I had multiple games where I needed to stop on my opponent's untap step. I'm like, I have a spell that I can cast at this time. Why is it blowing straight through? And it's because the game will blow straight through unless you tell it not to.
Yeah, one caveat on that is you actually don't get priority to the untap step. But yeah, no, I get what you're saying.
Upkeep.
Yeah, upkeep. Yeah. No, I didn't. Yeah, I'm nitpicking, of course.
So on the arena front, it has a very similar engine, it seems like, in terms of what's going on under the hood. It reproduces Magic very similarly, but from the jump, if you look at it, it looks like a game that was developed in the year 2018.
Oh, yeah.
There's a table with the cards on it. If you try to do something from one card to another, everything is 2D in Magic Online. In Magic the Gathering Arena, it's 3D. So if you're going to draw an arrow from one thing to another, it's just, are there even arrows in online, or the cards just line up?
No, there's like little arrows that like point right to the thing you're attack. Like if you attack and you hover over the card in Magic Online, it'll put a little arrow pointing at the opponent's character, like box or their planeswalker if you're attacking that. But they're like the arena arrows are much better. They actually just like point the whole way. Very, just like also it's more aesthetically pleasing. It's like the whole game is better in that sense.
It looks like you're drawing the like you click on the card and then click on where you want it to go, and the arrow will track your cursor. Like that, it's a look and feel thing. It's little, but it matters.
It does matter. Totally does.
When you put a card down, if it's like a rare or a mythic or like an especially prevalent card, they will put animations sometimes on the card. Like if you cast Glimmer of Genius, the little like orb from the card will fly out of the card and then dump water into your energy reserve or something. And like those little animations are cool. Like when someone casts the Scarab God pops out and then yells at you.
Yeah, like it's like if you guys have ever played Hearthstone, it's a lot like that. One of the things that actually got me into Hearthstone is because Magic Online was like great and all, but then when I played Hearthstone, it was actually felt like an exciting experience rather than just playing a card game. Like when I hit my opponent with my 8/8, it like smashed and the crowd went wild. Like that's a thing that actually brings people in. People are like, wow, that's pretty cool. And you do it in Magic Online, it's just like tearing them sideways, click, 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 click. Damage, click, 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 click.
Yeah. And in Arena, they actually have reproduced that as well. Like, if you're going to attack your opponent with a 1/1, a 2/2, and a 5/5, even if all of them are unblocked and technically deal damage at the same time, the animation will be the 1-1 will hit, and like there'll be a little screen shake. Then the 2-2, and there's a bigger screen shake. And then the 5-5, and your opponent's life total gets like a crack in it, and the screen just shudders. Like those little touches are just so useful for the program. Now, from the bad side, it's less refined, I would say, than online.
Yeah,
the hotkeys are probably there in the same way they are in Magic the Gathering, in MTGO, MTGO, but they are less pronounced. Like you don't see all of your hotkeys just kind of displayed out in front of you in the same way.
Yeah, you gotta dig for it. When I was playing on Arena, the presets were actually like fine because when you had a spell you cast at a certain time, the game would slow it down so you could do that. But if you just had nothing, it would like the auto yields would just go right through it, and you kind of have to like go into like it's like enabling full control, I believe it's called, if you really want to get the actual experience, like the similar Moto experience. But yeah, it's not quite the same. It has these little boxes on like near your character that kind of show you where you're at, but it's way simplified down, which is fine. Like that's not necessarily bad, but if you really want to go into the deep mechanics of how a turn works, Magic Online is much better for doing that.
Yeah, like for example, something that comes up a lot if you're playing in current standard is sometimes you will put a Bomat Courier trigger on the stack and then activate a second Bomat.
Mm-hmm.
So that you basically discard your hand once and then get two Bomats worth of cards. But if you don't assume direct control or full control in Arena, it will not put the ability, like you will pass priority straight through your ability going on the stack. And that makes it so that if you don't assume direct control, you will always get the lesser outcome.
Yeah, no,
you
just
can't
like
do that.
And like the worst part is a lot of people like don't really know those things. Like they don't know they're supposed, like when you're picking up this game for the first time, you don't know you're supposed to assume full control in order to do this. Like it isn't really clear from the get-go. You have to figure it out, which is not great. But
and same thing, things like untapping mana. Like if you tap accidentally or if you tap improperly, there's a back button basically, but the back button is not backspace and it is not the things that would be obvious or Q.
Yeah, I think it's Control Z.
It's weird. Yeah, it's Control Z, and that's not obvious. And
Mm-hmm.
I lost multiple games until I looked it up. I'm like, I can't believe they made it seemed reasonable because I played MTGO, and there's a lot of things that if you click on them, you just lose, and it's like, well, charge it to the game. But
Just
Arena
right-click.
actually has answers.
Like I know the same thing about tapping. Another foolproof strategy is right click. Then it will like show you what it would do without actually doing it.
Yeah,
But
and that's another thing. Like in Arena, it will auto tap mana for you.
Yeah,
If you just drag a card from your hand
auto-tapper.
into play. Now, a lot of the time, it's fine. But sometimes it will completely kill you.
I don't know. I actually have like a choice word or two for the auto tapper in Magic Arena. I've like actually like when I was first playing Magic Arena and I played my cards and like the first time I tapped my card pretty inefficiently, I'm like, oh, okay, that's whatever. But then like I actually went back and experimented, and it felt like a lot of the time it would pick the worst possible way for me to tap something I could possibly. I was playing this mono black deck that had a bunch of swamps and like an Aether Hub and a Field of Ruin, and like in order to play my Glint Sleeve Siphoner, it like tapped both my swamps rather than tapping like one of my Aether Hubs or my Field of Ruins. I'm like, why are you doing this to me?
Yes, it will do stuff like that. There are times when I've had like 3 mountains in play and 1 forest, and I'm playing a mono red card, and it will tap my forest and my mountain. It's like, why would you tap 2 colors if you don't? Why would you stop my representing having other colors of spells? But
yeah, but sometimes it literally gets in the way of another spell you're going to cast that turn. And
yeah,
I'm like,
I mean, it doesn't do any prediction. It doesn't seem to know what's in your hand. It just does it on the fly when you make the cast. Now,
yeah.
From a usability standpoint, if you're a new player, just getting to drag the card into the field of play and not worrying about your tapping is a huge usability win.
Oh, yeah. Oh, no, you're so right.
So many players don't even think about that when they're playing, especially when they start out. And especially if this is going to be your way into the game, you might not know that it really sucks if it taps your green. So I think it's good that it's there, though for more experienced players, you'll trust it just enough for it to knife you.
Yeah. No, I will admit I do come from like a certain, like my viewpoint's a little bit different than a lot of people are going to probably be going into Arena because I'm like, I am like one of the more like I'm very much experienced Magic player, so I'm like knowing exactly how I want to like navigate at least the simple stuff like tapping and stuff like that. A
Yeah.
lot of the time for newer players, that just won't be the case at all. So I think the Magic Arena, it's just in that, at least in that way, it's a lot better. I think it's just new player friendly in almost every way compared to Magic Online. I mean, that's just one of them.
Yeah, and I think that the new player friendliness brings up the next topic I wanted to discuss: how you actually acquire cards. So in Arena, it's got a built-in kind of online free-to-play sort of economy. You've got two currencies, coins and gems, similar to what you would see in a lot of free-to-play games. The coins are acquired by playing, just like any sort of thing. They will give you challenges, like weekly challenges, and if you achieve those or if you win or all sorts of stuff, they pay you out in coins. And then there's gems, which are for pay. And you can use those to enter tournaments, you can use those to enter events, or you could use them to buy packs. You can buy a single pack with coins, but any larger bundles you need to use gems. And you can buy into competitive, so like draft, like things that will pay you out in cards also, you generally have to buy in with gems. Whereas constructed events will be bought in with coins or gems, but like it's a small amount of coins or gems. And it will pay out in coins and single cards instead of packs.
Wait, do I have that wrong? I thought you could pay with every event with coins, but it just costs a lot of coins to do so.
You can't pay competitive draft. You can pay quick draft. So there's a few different queues. There will usually be a quick draft, a quick constructed, which will be best of one. There's a competitive draft and competitive constructed, which is best 2 out of 3, like normal.
Yeah.
There'll usually be one kind of zany format, like, hey, in this format it's singletons only, in this format it's pauper, in this one you play 2 lands a turn, like something zany.
Yeah.
And it pays you out in like just cards. It gives you no coins, but it usually costs almost nothing to play. And then there's quick play and quick competitive play, which cost nothing, but you just kind of go in and play. And so the way that you get cards in Arena is drafting. You get to keep the cards you pick. You can open packs. A lot of different formats, like the draft formats, will pay out in packs, and you can get packs just by playing every week. You'll get winnings, and that'll give you packs. And they also give you wild cards, which you start with when you start Arena. You'll just get a certain number of mythic, rare, uncommon, and common wild cards. Now, why do they give you wild cards? Because you can't trade. There's no trading in Arena.
Yeah, or any other way besides wild card to create a card that you want.
Yes.
Like at all.
Everything is from buying packs, and packs are actually smaller in Arena than they are in real life or on online. You only get, I believe, 7 cards in a pack in Arena, as opposed to 15 in a regular pack.
Yeah, which for what it's worth isn't the biggest deal because they still give you the rare and a couple uncommons. So they're mostly taking out a lot of the commons, which isn't the biggest deal because you can get commons pretty quickly, and they get out common wild cards like candy, basically.
Yeah, and that's the thing. So you can't trade and you can't buy individual cards, but every few packs you open, you'll get a wild card, either an uncommon every 6 packs you open, you get a rare wild card. And
then you might get extra in the random.
You sometimes get a rare wild card in your rare slot, or an uncommon or a common in those slots respectively. You can also get mythic rare wild cards in your rare slot, and every, I think, 6 rare or 5 rare wild cards you get a mythic rare wild card. So you will just, by opening packs, get the ability to make the deck you want. Now, it's hard to transition between decks in Arena because you spend your wild cards to get the deck you want. But once you have a deck, you can do so without spending money at all.
Yeah. It's like, I think the way you put it's really, the first deck you get, it's not hard at all to get. The second deck you get is really hard to get. That's put it in a couple words. Honestly, I'm not a huge fan of the whole, like, at least from a competitive standpoint, they make it like having no way to actually accrue the cards you want for like a fixed price kind of makes it quite difficult in order to like make like get what you really want to play. Like it's almost like you're bottlenecked into whatever cards you open rather than what you actually want to play a lot of the time.
Yeah, and they do give you some starter decks as you play that will be kind of starters into. They start you with 5 starter decks, one of each color, and then they will give you 2 color starter decks that you can kind of earn. That those 2 color starter decks will be a given strategy that aligns with the 2 colors, and from a competitive perspective, there will be more powerful cards in those decks than in the 5 starters you start with. And those will usually come with a rare dual land and usually some rares or mythics that are useful for deck building. So that gets you some of the way, but it doesn't get you the full way to build a deck. If you want a deck with 4 of us, if you need 20 mythics in your deck, that means you need 20 wild cards. And if you're going to accrue those normally, it's going to either take a lot of playing of formats that kind of pay out in packs or rares and mythics, or you're going to need to drop hundreds of dollars in packs.
Yeah,
those will give you the wild cards.
Like that's the thing, though. It's one thing to drop hundreds of dollars, but like dropping hundreds of dollars and not even guaranteeing what you actually want to get. That's like it's pretty rough to say the least. That's my biggest reservation with the collection system right now. Just wish they had some way you just like say like I want to pay $5 for this card and get that card. Or something like that. I don't know how they do it, but
yeah, the way you can guarantee to get a card is by buying enough packs to
that's true.
Guarantee you get the wild card that you need.
Yeah,
and 6 packs will get you that wild card, but the math gets pretty insane depending on what you want. Now, on the upside, you will get a collection by paying, and you can pay no money for anything.
Oh yeah.
Like, you can build an entire collection. If you're good at standard and limited and all that sort of stuff, you can grind the daily challenges and grind drafts and just get a collection that way. Like, for a little while, Amonkhet was the quick draft format, and I'm good at Amonkhet draft. And that led to me basically taking 1 draft worth of, currency, of gems, and stretching that into, I think, about 7 drafts.
Yeah,
each of those paid out packs, and then each of those packs paid out wild cards, and then I had enough cards to build a deck.
Yeah,
but that doesn't always happen.
It does, yeah. Like you have to have a high win rate in order to keep going like that. I think the math they did was about 74% win rate or something like that in order to go infinite, which every player simply cannot do that. That's how math works.
Exactly, and not only that, but some formats are just not amenable to that. I don't really care how good you are at Core Set 2019 Draft. You can only be so good at it.
Yeah.
There's some formats that are very, very rare and mythic dependent, and your deck quality will be based on whether you open the cards that are good. Like, you can have a slightly above average win rate, but some formats don't really lend themselves to that.
Yeah. On that note, though, the auto drafter, since you actually don't draft with people when you're drafting on Magic Arena,
I want to discuss that a little bit later. When we talk about the competitive scene. So how do you get cards in at MTGO?
MTGO, yeah. So MTGO has an entire secondary market for you. So getting cards on Magic Online is almost identical to how you will get cards in normal paper. The prices are a bit marked down. But you are still paying, if you just want random. Actually, you're not always paying a substantial amount of money. If you want to get the cards that the standard staples, you want to build a tier 1 deck in standard, modern, legacy, you're probably paying a substantial amount of money. However, if you just want to build a commander deck, if you want to build anything that's not in right now, you just want to build a deck to play for fun with your friends online, that'll basically cost you nothing. You can a lot of the bots, the way they are. Basically, bots are just stores that are set up online by big retailers in a very similar way to CCG players set up. So getting cards is really, really easy. You can get basically any card you want if you're willing to pay the price. But the price...
And the price is in the form of tickets. You have to barter, basically.
Yes.
So the coin of the realm is tickets, which it's $1 a ticket, right?
Yeah, it's about you can get about 96, but yeah, it's about $1. It's
about $1 a ticket. You buy those from Wizards, and then you can trade those tickets to bots.
Yep.
For cards at about $1 a ticket rate.
Yep.
And the weirdness with that is that tickets can be used to enter events, and
They can. There's
you
also
can't cash out tickets either.
You can cash out tickets. There are secondary market sellers who will take your tickets for about like 94 cents per ticket or something like that. So your tickets do have liquid value. That's one of the things with Magic Online. It's completely different Arena. Arena, the cards you get in Arena are only valuable within the context of Arena. The cards you get online, not only can you sell them for actually a substantial amount of liquid cash, because a lot of the time even when you buy cards, you can also sell the cards back almost instantaneously for about 90% of the value, which is pretty good. You're basically renting the cards for 10% of their value, which a lot of times, if you're just trying to grind for about a month, is totally worth it, especially if you can win a lot, because then you can get prizes in the league events, which I'm pretty sure we'll get to later. But yeah, no, the Magic Online, you actually have real money. There's like it's real money. It's not just like self-contained within the game. There's a whole market around it. There's a primary market, secondary market. So that's it's good or bad depending on how you look at it.
Yeah, so the cashing out, it's from third-party people who will pay you via eBay or whatever third-party platform you're doing. You can't cash it out within the app, though.
That is true. Well, there is one thing, like not cash out, but one thing you can do is if you collect a full set of any given set that's within like the last year, I believe it is. I'm not sure it's the exact cutoff date, but it's about a year. You can get what's called a redemption request, which is about $25. And if you do that, then Wizards will take the cards out, that set of cards you have in your collection out of your online collection, and then they will send you a box, like in real life, of all those cards in paper.
Oh, really?
So, yeah. So your cards online are backed by real cards in paper. So you are not like just throwing money. Like that is like Magic Online is expensive, but it is backed in every single way, like by real money. So you're not just throwing your money away.
Yeah, and you can always turn a card into another card, and you can trade, actually trade.
You can actually trading is anything. Like there's a few things you can't trade, like you can't trade qualifier points. You basically can't trade things that get you into exclusive tournaments, but you can trade any sort of like merchandise, like the avatars, the cards, booster packs, tickets, whatever you want. You can trade that with your friends, with the store. It's very easy, very intuitive. That's like one.
And you can borrow.
Yes.
If you want to enter a tournament, you don't necessarily need to own the entire deck. You and all of your friends combined can, and then trading it back is actually also very easy because it's online. It takes a few minutes and then you give everything back. Whereas in Arena, there's no ability to share.
Yeah,
it's all you.
Yep. The trading thing is it's completely as long as both parties agree to a trade, the trade will happen. So basically, you can just give cards to someone else to use for a certain amount of time and then give them back once you're done. Obviously, I'd only recommend doing that with people you trust. But yeah, it's super easy. I do it all the time with a lot of my friends who also play on Magic Online. So it makes while that's like the economy, I think is another really strong aspect of Magic Online if you're willing to pay, which for what it's worth is not cheap. Magic Online can get quite expensive. I think I've put at least like $1,000-something in it, which from a lot of people, that sounds like, oh my God, that is more than I'd ever want to spend in the game. And you'd be right. So you got to have a certain level of like commitment if you actually want to go into Magic Online. I would not it's not really a good starting place for the economy.
Yeah. And so I think that goes to the next question of sustainability. So in Magic Online, how much can you kind of keep yourself going by playing well? Do the prize payouts allow you to then continue playing? If you win a draft, can you do another draft? Or is it a situation where you pay once and then you get whatever cards you get out of it, but that's it?
Yeah, so the way it works on Magic Online is when you play in like a limited event, you will always keep, unless you play in a Phantom event, of course, which they have certain events where it's like with cards that are super old or like super weird, like they have like a cube, or maybe they'll have like original Ravnica drafts or something like that. Those fan events, you don't keep the cards. But in every other like limited event, like normal limited events, you get to keep the cards that you draft. But that's usually not worth too much because unless you get like a bomb mythic, like a Nicol Bolas or like a Teferi or something, most of the cards you'll open up are close to worthless. But the prize payout is set up that it acknowledges that that's a fact. So if you like have a moderate win rate on Magic Online, like I'd say 60% will get you pretty close to infinite. If you go in limited, you need a little bit more. The prize payout is basically, it's very top heavy, where if you have a really good win rate, you're going to be paid out in large amounts. Like when I went on literally one night, I just went like on a hot streak with my standard deck and competitive constructed, and I went 9-1 in 2 competitive standard leagues, and I got like about $70 worth of merchandise of like currency on Magic Online. So
and how much was the entry?
The entry fee. So yeah, there's 2 types of. I should go into this. Yeah, if you want to play constructed, there's 2 ways you can do. Well, there's one. Well, you play in leagues, and there's 2 different types of leagues. There's the friendly standard or the friendly league, which they have friendly standard, friendly modern, friendly legacy. You get the point. And then they have competitive leagues. So in friendly leagues, it costs you 88 tickets or 80 play points. Play points are certain points they give out only in events that let you are only usable. They are tradable, but they're only usable in actually entering events. But they'll give them out a little bit more liberally than event tickets, so you don't have to like dip into your. If you played a lot of events, you don't have to dip into your event ticket supply in order to enter events. So you can and they're worth like 10 play points are worth about 1 event ticket. So you can either pay 80 play points or 8 event tickets to enter a friendly standard league. And the league is 5 rounds long. And if you go 3-2, you get your 80 tickets back and you get what's called a treasure chest. And a treasure chest, you can do a couple things with. Either one, you can sell it straight back to any bot, like any of the hundreds of bots they have on Magic Online, and you'll get about $2.30, we'll say, for that per treasure chest. So if you go 3-2, you're pretty happy. You get your money back and you get about $2 to do whatever you want with. If you go 4-1 in this friendly league, you'll get, I believe it's 4 treasure chests. It's either 3 or 4. I usually, as you can tell, I usually do competitive, but it's about 4. And then if you go 5-0, you get 8 treasure chests and your money back, like your 80 play points. Your 80 play points. So so the nice thing, and also if you go 2-3, you get 40 play points back, so you get half your investment back. If you go 1-4, you get 20. And if you go 0-5, you get 10. So the nice thing about friendlies is you don't lose that. Like, you really don't lose that much. Like, even if you go 2-3 one time, you're only down $4, which isn't the end of the world. If you're only down like half your investment, you still get half of it back.
If you look at it as if you're going to go to a paper tournament, like $10 entry fees are not unreasonable. Exactly.
So you look like and it's not. Yeah, as I was saying, it's not. Yeah, you're just like literally just paying your entry fee. And if you go 3-2, you make money, and that's like 3-2s. I'm not going to say it's like easy, but in friendlies, the competition tends to be not as difficult. So it's very feasible for someone who brings a reasonable deck to the friendly league and wants to win. They can go 3-2. So you can very reasonably go infinite. And then 4-1, 5-0 might not happen that often, but when they do, you get a nice little payout. Like you get about $10 or $20 depending on 4-0, 5-0s, which is actually quite good. Like if you go 5-0 at like most stores, they won't give you $20 on top of your entry fee back usually. So it's actually really good if you actually do that well. And then the other type of league you can go in is called the competitive league. So the competitive league costs 12 tickets or 120 play points to enter. So the cost is a little steeper for entry. And any record from 0-5 to 2-3, you lose your whole investment. You get nothing. So it's quite steep to lose. Like you lose $12, which is a lot more than the 4 if you were going to lose if you were going to go into a friendly league and go 2-3. However, and if you go 3-2, you get the same payout as you would for the friendly 3-2. So you get your entry fee back, and you get your 1 treasure chest. So it's a little bit harder to accrue. You can actually lose a substantial amount of money if you don't know what you're doing in competitive standard league. However, if you go 4-1 in a competitive standard or modern league or whatever, you get 8 treasure chests, and you get your entry fee plus 6 more, like 60 play points back. So you put in 120 play points, you get 180 back on top of the 8 treasure chests, which is about $20. And on top of that, you'll get what's called a qualifier point, which is how you can track how well you're doing in the given Magic competitive year if you're at all invested in that. And if you get 35 of them within a year, you can enter the Magic Online Championship monthly event. And if you do well at that, you can enter the championship. And if you do well at the championship, you get thousands of dollars in prizes, Pro Tour, all the accolades. Everyone's happy if you do well there. And then if you go 5-0, you get 16 treasure chests, and you get the extra 6 play points on top of your entry fee, and you get 3 qualifier points. So if you go 5-0 in a competitive standard league, you are paid back like 5 times your investment about. So it's really good. But the cost is much higher, of course.
That's pretty good. And similar with the drafts, right? In terms of the
Yes,
payout
well,
and the price is higher?
Well, the drafts are actually, it's funny they mentioned that, because the drafts are a little bit different, because there's friendly and there's competitive draft leagues, of course, which, yeah, the payout's pretty similar in that sense for friendly and competitive. But there's also single elimination draft leagues where you draft your deck and you play 1 to 3 rounds. If you lose in the first round, you don't get much, you don't get anything. If you lose in the second round, you'll get like half your investment back. And if you lose in the third round, you'll get your whole investment back and like a pack to boot. And if you win the whole thing, then you get like 2.5 times your entry fee plus a few qualifier points, or I think it's 2. And if you get 1 for being in the finals of the draft. So those I would not recommend doing. The value on the competitive single elimination drafts are quite bad. I lost a lot of money doing those.
I can imagine. So that sounds like, as long as you have a relatively competitive deck and you're trying to actually play this for reals, like, you're trying to get better, you're competitive, you can eventually make it sustainable, though it will take investments here and there. If you run out of cards or if you run out of tickets or something, you'll eventually have to either sell your collection or buy back in.
Yeah, friendly leagues, you can definitely go infinite on pretty easily. Competitive leagues are pretty brutal. They can take a lot of money from you if you're not careful. So if you're just like starting out on Moto, you like want to be competitive, but you aren't like quite at that level yet, I would highly recommend starting with constructed friendly leagues, because they will barely ever take a substantial amount of your money, because you might go 2-3 one league, 3-2 the other league, and you're like about even. Maybe you're down $1, but you got 10 matches of Magic in for $1, which is pretty good value in my opinion, and you could even make more back. So if you're starting out friendly, if you really know what you're doing and you're like, I'm testing for a Grand Prix, I'm testing for a PPTQ, maybe even RPTQ, that's when you want competitive. Because the thing about competitive Magic Online leagues is they give you the best competition you can find. Hands down, not even close. Like, even GPs don't give you the same kind of competition.
Okay, so that's great.
Yeah.
From Arena's perspective, the sustainability is a little bit odd, because you can grind these coins, and the coins can get you entry. Like, the daily challenges give you 500 coins on the low end and 750 on the high end, and the challenges that will give you 500 coins is like play 20 red spells, play 20 red or green spells, and then the 750 ones will be like play 30 red or green spells.
Yeah, it's very similar to how Hearthstone's set up, where you have like the quests and you get rewards for doing the certain quest, rather than actually a lot less depending on you winning and more depending on you playing.
Yes, and you do get 250 coins for your first win of the day. You get 100 coins for your second win, 100 for your third, 100 for your fourth, and then you get a random card for your fifth. And then it will alternate between coins and cards until you get, I think, 15 wins, at which point it will not give you payout anymore for the day in terms of coins. So you can get like more than 1,000 coins a day if you just keep up, you just play. And that's just quick play. You're not even going into the competitive anything. If you go into quick competitive or into just competitive constructed, quick constructed or competitive constructed, your payout is like online. You're not going to make back your money until you get above 500. Except in Arena, it's even harsher, I think. If you're playing quick constructed, it costs 500 coins, and if you scrub out 0-3, you will get, I think, 100 coins back. If you win one game, you'll get 200. 2 games, I think it jumps up to like 400. If you win 4 games out of a maximum of 7, then you get your coins back. If you then win any more than that, you're coming out ahead, and the maximum you can get is 1,000 coins if you win 7 rounds, and it's not going undefeated; it's winning 7 times. Competitive constructed, similar. You don't get your coins back until you get to 500, get to 3-2. If you go the equivalent of 5-0, or not necessarily 5-0, you can lose a match. So it's once you lose 2 times, you're out.
Yeah, that's like a little.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, it's just a little bit rougher than on Magic Online, I think, where if you just go 0-2, it's over. On Magic Online, a lot of times, you go 0-2, you can still, like, salvage your whole entry fee back, since even if no matter what your record is, you still get to play the 5 rounds of Magic No
Yes.
BS attached.
Once you lose, you've lost in Arena. But once if you win 5 matches in competitive construction, I think you get 2,500 coins. It's like a 1,000 coin entry. So you can double up pretty quick.
Oh, yeah.
And all of that stuff is with no money invested at all. And then once you get 5,000 coins, you can use that to enter drafts. And if you do a quick draft, you can use that to enter a quick draft. And quick draft, it's similar, you do a draft and then it's 7 rounds of single elimination. You play one game. If you win, you win. If you lose, you lose. And once you lose 3 times, you're out. Or if you win 7 times in a row, you cash out, basically. But if you paid in gems, it's 750 gems or 5,000 coins. If you paid in gems, you would break even at, again, I think it's even 5 wins.
Wait, so it's easier to break even with gems? I wasn't aware of that.
No, it's not. It's not.
Okay.
So if you put in 5,000 coins, you don't get paid out in coins. You will get paid out in gems. So this is the way that you turn coins into gems, is by doing quick draft. If you can turn your 5,000 coins into a minimum of 100 gems or 50 gems. It's not a great payout.
Yeah.
But if you do well, you can turn your 5,000 coins into more than 750 gems, and then you can just keep drafting. And that lets you keep going. And you're going to keep all the cards that you draft. And as you get cards that you already own, once you have a play set, any additional copies of that card will get you closer to something called the Vault, which is just basically an injection of wild cards. You just get a bunch of wild cards for free. And this happens when your collection starts getting bigger. So if you've got 4 Lyras, for example, and you open a 5th one, that gives you a pretty big jump towards getting the Vault. If you get an additional rare, it's slightly less, or significantly less. If you get a 5th uncommon, even less. And if you get a 5th copy of a common, it barely bumps you towards the Vault at all. But that allows you to kind of go infinite on wild cards. That's how you get to wild cards, is if you've played a ton, you've got a ton of play sets, and you're just, you keep going, that's how you can kind of, like a squirrel, store nuts in your cheek for the next format. And then you can do it again because you've acquired the cards you need. So it's possible to go infinite in Magic Arena in a way that is, I think, impossible in online without being very good.
Yeah, no, you have to be quite good at Magic Online to go infinite. For about the first 2 years I played Magic Online, I was quite down on money. Like I had to invest a lot of capital in order to make it work. But luckily, once you do, it does help you get there. Like playing Magic Online does it helps you get better at a faster rate than I think any other service or program or any other way of playing Magic will do for you. So it's kind of like a self-fulfilling prophecy in that sense, where it's like, it's harder to go infinite on Magic Online, but if you play Magic Online, you will get there faster than any other way of doing so.
Exactly. And that's like Arena, you can slop your way into infinite just by playing a lot. There's a value in that,
Oh, yes,
if you're just trying to play Magic, Arena will allow you to play a lot of fun Magic just against random people all the time, and you'll always get a game. And you can even build your collection and get more packs. Like a lot of the basics are there.
Oh yeah,
I think the big mark against Arena is the competitiveness and the balance. So like you said, online, you're playing against oftentimes some of the best people in the world. Like there's only a few hundred or a few thousand people on MTGO at any given time, and they are the people who are committed enough to Magic to be on MTGO all the time.
Yep, that's how it works. Like I can literally tell you 6 different pros that I anywhere from gold to platinum that I've just played against on Magic Online, random competitive leagues, because they're also trying to test for their next GP or their next tournament. You get the best of the best when you play on Magic Online, if that's what you want.
Yeah, and when you're playing Magic Online and you're playing in a competitive league, that point you get, that qualifying point, is for a real tournament that will have a real prize payout and will eventually get you to the Pro Tour if you do well enough. There are pots of gold at the end of the rainbow. If you want to think cosmically, are they huge? Maybe not.
Yeah.
But in the Magic world,
They're
It's
about
as
as big
big
as
as it
they
gets.
get. Yeah, like the Magic Online World Champ or the Magic Online not World Champion. The Magic Online Championship is actually like bigger than the Pro Tour. It's like harder to win the Magic Online Championship than it is to win the Pro Tour. It is because you have to, as I was thinking about the qualifier points, you have to get 35. 35 is a big number of qualifier points, and you can only get qualifier points from competitive, either constructed or limited. It doesn't matter the format, but only competitive leagues. So you have to put a lot on stake in order to even get those points. Then you have to do well in the qualifier for it, and then you have to do well in the championship. It is insane the amount of grinding. But the winner they give you a lot of money. I think it's like $50,000 or something like that. And this is like real cash. This isn't like this isn't in-game currency or anything like this. They will send you a check for $50,000 if you win the Magic Online Championship.
Exactly. So you can find competition. The decks that you'll play against in online are real decks. Like, there are some queues where people are screwing around, but it's mostly just, if you're in competitive, these are the real decks for the most part. You're not going to see people putting a bunch of money on $12 on the line, and they're going to be playing mono green elves in standard. That's not going to happen.
Yeah, a lot. Also, you can like tinker around with your decks very easily. Like, you play a deck in a league, you're like, okay, awesome. I love these cards in my deck, and I don't like these cards. Let's swap them out super quick. Let's go to a bot, buy them up, and then just go right into the next league and see how you feel. So I've like used like I play like 10 leagues with like one deck, and I like might have a very different deck from what I've started at, but I know that deck at the end is a lot better because you can just accelerate the whole testing process.
Exactly, and you're testing real decks. You are trading your cards out very quickly. The winnings from the league can pay for you to swap your cards out. So it is ideal for getting good at competitive very, very quickly. Now, like we said earlier, there are some decks that are inherently handicapped, and there are some decks that are inherently bolstered by Magic Online. For example, decks like Mono Green Stompy, which is cheap.
And good.
It is both good and cheap. Decks that are good and cheap, you will see much more frequently in Magic Online than you would in paper, because in Magic Online, it doesn't take that much to swap decks, but the investment to get a competitive deck is sometimes pretty considerable. So just imagine all the people who are at your store who like want to get into competitive, and now imagine if they had no barriers to card access.
Or just like play access. You can just literally 3 a.m, you can get up and say, I want to play a match of Magic, and queue up Magic Online, and you can be playing against like a pro in Japan.
But like, if you were starting out, right, and you were just trying to get into competitive, you would not necessarily buy the most expensive competitive deck. You would buy the cheapest deck that is competitive. And there are a lot of people doing that on Magic Online. You'll see a lot of people playing mono red aggro. You'll see a lot of people playing mono green aggro. And it's not because those are the best decks in the format. It's because they are both in the realm of playability, but they are very cheap. And so you see Magic Online metas sometimes skewed by the availability of cheap, powerful decks, and you'll see those more frequently than you would in paper, because when you're in paper, the barrier is not necessarily as high. A lot of the people who have taken the time to go to a tournament and get a deck, they will have spent the money over the course of their Magic careers to have the good cards, or will have a network of people to borrow from. Whereas online, it seems like it's a lot more atomized. You'll see a lot more people who are just running out the aggro cheap deck.
Yeah, not only that, but I also feel a lot of the time people will just like take the best deck in the format and they'll just play that. Like, no matter what it is, you'll just like, because like for example, last format when it was Core Set 2019 limited, or not limited, Core Set 2019 standard, and I played against red black aggro about 50% of the time I was playing, because you'll say, oh look, best deck, oh here, net deck, download the list, download it on Moto, buy it, let's go. A lot of people do that.
And that also kind of skews the meta. Once people think they know what the best deck is, you'll just see a bunch of people playing that deck over and over and over again.
Yeah.
Which is not necessarily great for brewing or for for getting the full texture of a format, but it at least gives you an idea of what the competitive scene is like. So I think, like, Magic Online, it's great for that. Like, the meta is mostly there. And obviously, like we said also, if there's a deck that is specifically hard to play on Magic Online for Magic Online reasons, that will see an artificial decrease in its prevalence.
Yeah, for what it's worth, if you're just like into something like Standard, most Standard decks don't have infinite loops in them, so you can mostly mitigate that problem. But there is still that problem with playing a control deck, and your Teferi doesn't actually kill them, so you have to click through all the things in order to not kill them, and the game goes and your chess clock burns out. But yeah, no, if you're playing Standard, it's still much less of an issue.
Yeah. Whereas Arena, I think, is fun. In spots, it's Magic, but there are some huge barriers that I think make it ill-equipped for really testing and really playing at a high level.
Yeah.
So the first one... Oh, go ahead.
I said, with that said, if you're just looking to play a game, I think Arena is by far the better option. Like when my friends say, oh, I want to try Magic, but I don't really have time to go to an F&M, I'm like, here, take my beta key for Arena. I'm not like, oh, go download Magic Online. I would never, ever recommend someone, like if they just want to like play a video game for fun or just want to try out Magic, never would I recommend them Magic Online. Ever.
Magic Online is full of murderers. It's nothing but murderers from top to bottom. Whereas Arena, there's a variety of play skill, it seems like, that's allowed because it's free to play. And because of that free to play element, you get a lot of like diversity of decks because some people are building decks based on the cards they opened, not because they just bought the net deck. Yeah. It's so much harder to just net deck in Arena. But that also means that when you're playing in competitive, you sometimes will run into decks that just aren't competitive. They're not.
Yeah.
They are not the most competitive deck. And the way that Arena tries to mitigate this is through a player ranking system. As you win more games, you will go up in ranks. And when you lose games, you will get knocked down ranks. So I've gotten as high as Silver Tier 1. And I've gone as low as Silver Tier 4. I think in Limited, I'm Silver Tier 2 right now. I've been Silver Tier 1. And then in Constructed, I'm Silver Tier 3, I think. And I've been up and down. I've never gotten to gold in either of them, but I've gotten close. Go ahead. Yeah,
I was just about to say, like, it's just not, like, it's almost like Hearthstone. If you've ever played Hearthstone, they have a ranking system where you start at 25, and as you win more, you get stars and moves you up to the, like, rank higher and higher. So if you've ever played Hearthstone, it is essentially the same thing. Except gold, silver, these are just different. It's numbers versus types of metal. So yeah, I know a lot of people who are thinking of getting this game also play Hearthstone or maybe have played Hearthstone. So if you're just looking for a parallel,
exactly,
it is the same.
It's completely paralleled. But the weirdness with this is that if you're playing any constructed format, it considers that part of your constructed ranking.
Yeah.
So if you go into quick constructed, which is a best of one format, like not even like quick constructed, if you just do quick play, which is best of one for funsies, if you lose, that counts against your constructed ranking. If you go into quick constructed, which is a best of one format, that will count towards your constructed ranking. If you go into competitive constructed, each of these games, like each instance of a game, counts the same, which means that it just so disincentivizes. If you care about having a high rank, right? If you care about rank at all, it just so disincentivizes deck building and trying new things and testing. It incentivizes you solely to find the deck that just beats up on everyone on Magic Online, Magic Arena, and just grind that, because that will get your rank higher. And I've 100% accuracy known if they're gold, they are just playing one of the 2 or 3 competitive decks, and that's it. And then the people who are like in bronze, sometimes it's because they're bad, and sometimes it's because they're just playing weird decks. And playing weird decks sometimes means your win percentage is not going to be the same as someone who's playing the most competitive deck. But the explanation for that can be, I'm exploring a new deck.
Yeah, it's not great, because especially when you say like you're incentivized to just grind one deck and like try and take it to the top, if you're going to do that, you might as well just play Magic Online. It just, the system's much more incentivized for just finding a good deck and winning a whole bunch with it.
I know, and it's just this weird situation where when you're playing, like, if I want to test a deck, right, I've got it on Arena, it's of I think a high quality. I would like to play against other real decks, so I go into a competitive queue, right? That's where you'll expect to see people who are playing the competitive decks. But it's anyone who's picked competitive constructed, and Arena's metagame is not the same. So if you were doing competitive constructed in Magic Online, you would assume that you're seeing the meta decks, right? And if you bring a deck that you're brewing into that, you know that you're probably you might get smashed.
Yep.
But you're going to get a sense of how your deck fits in the meta. You'll actually get an impression of what the matchups look like. I can go into a competitive queue in Arena, and if my rank has gotten lower because I was just grinding out the daily challenges, and that means changing your deck up all the time because it asks you to play different colors.
Yeah.
If I'm just like playing the stupid generic blue-green Merfolk deck that they give you for free just because the daily challenge was play green and blue cards, and I lost because the deck is bad, and my real deck is mono red, my ranking will continue to go down whenever the challenges don't incentivize me to play my regular deck. But then when I play my regular deck, because my ranking has gone down, I'm playing against people who are not good or who don't have real decks. And so then I get no sense of how my deck fits in the metagame until I run into like the random person who's just a murderer who for some reason is just playing red-black aggro over and over and over again.
For what it's worth, it could be the same reason that you got down there.
Exactly.
Yeah, that seems really messed up. I wasn't aware of the scope of how their ranking system exactly worked. But
yeah, like
that is
you need to have an environment where you can just play the quick play. Like if you're going to have daily challenges, don't tie everything into the daily challenge. Or don't tie everything into the ranking system. You need a place where people can grind out daily challenges where it's not going to impact their overall ranking.
Yeah.
Like, not every person is going to have a super competitive deck of every color combination so that they can achieve the daily challenges.
Yeah, I think literally I'm calling out Hearthstone again because the comparisons are very much there. You can just go from rank to casual, and if you play a casual game, it has no bearing on your rank whatsoever. Anyone can enter, and you can just play whatever. But the idea is that you play something not as good in the casual queue, and your opponent won't be as good either. So I feel like if Magic Arena wants to actually make its ranking system serious, it needs some sort of casual game mode where you play in this and it has no bearing whatsoever on your rank. You just play a game of Magic, no strings attached.
Exactly, and that's something that they lack right now. They do divvy up your limited and your constructed, so you can have this dichotomy between which one you're better at and worse at and where you're going to get better competition. But there's a completely different problem with draft, and that is that right now there is no true draft. You can only draft against bots.
Yeah, that's a big deal. I was about to mention that earlier, but yeah, I think that was a great time to get that. It is nice. The one upside to it is when you're playing in draft, you'll sometimes be passed like that mythic rare you needed. Like when I was drafting Dominaria, someone passed me a Lyra. I'm like, oh, I need that Lyra. All right, take.
Yeah. The computer will always make picks based on what it thinks the best card is. It's not going to care about passing you a mythic or passing you a rare dual land because I am red, green. This dual land is not useful. Thanks for the very good dual land. I'll take that. So I usually treat the drafts as, hey, I'll just take all the rares that this thing's passing me because this is a much cheaper way of getting the rares than opening packs or using wild cards.
Yep.
It's a great way to actually get your mana bases is just going into a draft. But that means that you are at the computer's mercy. However they program the draft bots will wildly skew your perception of a format in a way that is not competitive.
Yeah, I was drafting.
You went in person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was drafting Dominaria on Magic Online a lot to prepare for the GPs and all that stuff. Or it was sealed, but I still wanted to draft, and I was getting a good feel of the format, like what historic cards are good and all that stuff. And then I just went on the arena. I'm like, all right, let's see how this is like. And I just got all the good cards, and I'm like, why are nobody taking this? I'll see three cards left, and one of them Shivan Fire, like the shock that kicks for 5, which is really good. The card is really good. And I'm like, how is this in the last card? Then I'll pass that and I'll see a blink of an eye. I'm like, how are people not taking these cards? Oh wait, they're not people. They are robots. They're stupid robots.
Yes. And that means that you end up in these situations where there's actually a number of problems. the first one and the most obvious is if you do more than one draft of a format, you will start to see the robots' tells.
Mm-hmm.
There's a hierarchy somewhere that's programmed into each of the bots of what the best cards are. And sometimes they're wrong.
Yep.
Oftentimes, they are very, very wrong. And
Like,
it doesn't even matter, like, what colors you're in. Like, they will pick bad cards in colors and pass you good ones.
mm-hmm.
Like, I've had drafts where I've gotten Sapling Migration, like, 9th pick. And that card is maybe the best green common in all of Dominaria.
Yeah. Card's real good if you're in the green-black sap stack.
It's a really good green card. It's good in
That's
the
true.
green-red
Yeah.
kicker deck. It's
Yeah,
good in the
that's
green-white go-wide deck.
Yep.
It is the glue of all of the green decks.
Yeah.
And they pass it
Yeah.
all the time. They do the same thing with, like, Thallid Omnivore is another one in Dominaria, which that card is really good. Almost every black deck wants one of them.
It's, like, much better in the green-black sap stack.
It is, but every black deck would play one,
yeah.
I think.
Yeah, no,
And
it's a good card.
It's completely playable. It's a good playable.
4-mana 3/3 upside, pretty good. Yeah, no, it's good.
You wouldn't usually see it. You wouldn't expect to wheel it necessarily every time.
Yeah.
Or Thallid. What's the 3/2 that dies into a?
Oh, that card, Deathbloom
Sapphire.
Thallid. That card's so good. Oh.
I've gotten multiples, like tons of times. Same thing. I think the black-green Thallid deck and the red-blue Wizard deck, both of those decks, one of them will be open every draft.
Which is
that I've
stupid,
played.
because those are
Like,
the two best archetypes in the format.
Obviously open. Yeah, and the way I know is because I will get past a Slimefoot or an Adelies, which are the two, like, best cards in each of those decks. And once I get past that uncommon, I know that none of the bots are in the color combination.
Yeah.
At which point, you will get past, like, I've had a red-green Wizards deck where I had, like, 3 of the wizard that bounces things.
The
Journey
Journey
Mage
Mage?
Adept.
So would it be red-blue then?
Red-blue.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Yeah, so you get that one that the wizard, the 4-mana, it's 5 mana for a 3/2, but if you have a wizard, it's 4 mana.
Yeah, that's Journey Mage. That's Journey Mage.
If you get multiples of that, or if you get multiples of the wizard that comes into play and shocks your opponent, if you get multiples of all of these effects, they just get more and more powerful.
They do.
The more you get of them. And if they're just going to keep passing you, because for some reason none of these cards are worth anything to any other drafter, you're going to get these overpowered decks that make no sense that you would never be able to assemble in person. Like, I got a deck that was historic, that I had a Teferi, a History of Benalia, Rite of Belzenlock.
Oh, man. Yeah, that's pretty crazy, dude.
And I think, what's the uncommon one with Nicole Bolas on it?
The Eldest Reborn?
The Eldest Reborn?
Yeah.
I think I had that too, and like a Torgar.
Yeah, why
Like,
not?
the deck was absurd, and that never would have happened. I think I got past Teferi. That would never happen.
That would literally never happen. Teferi is a $50 card right now. No one in their right mind.
Not only from the money perspective. Like, if you're on your second pack and you're not in white-blue and you open Teferi, congrats. Now you're splashing Teferi.
Yep.
But because the bots don't think that way, you get these decks that just make no sense. And then, with that deck, like, I wrecked my first opponent because it was ludicrous. Then I woke up. I, like, went to bed, woke up the next morning, decided to continue the event, and it was early in the morning, and I entered the queue, and I ran into the red-blue Wizards deck. That was absurd, because you can do that in the format regularly. And then I said, okay, I lost. You know, I got smashed by this very aggressive deck, and they had all of it. And then I hit match again, and I got matched against the same person.
We're the same person, jeez.
The same exact person with the same exact deck, and they beat me again.
And then it's over.
And then it's over. So I bought in to this event, got a very good deck, and literally got paired against the same person twice, playing a deck that you would never get if you were not playing against drafting with bots. And then they beat me twice, which no tournament would ever allow that back to back.
Yeah, no, it's literally, you can't get paired against the same person twice in the tournament. That is completely illegal. But what was I going to... Yeah, it just makes you think, I don't even know how they would code these robots, because like Wizards obviously doesn't know exactly how good their cards and their formats are. You can see that through the cards they decide to make promos. Like if you look back in Kaladesh, you can see Cultivator of Blades was made as like a full art promo or whatever. They don't really know a lot of time how good their cards are. Like not all the time.
Some of the times they're making promos for events where it's like, the release day. You make a release day promo, something that is not.
Oh, I thought that was the game day promo.
Card.
Was that not the game day promo?
I think that was the release day promo.
That was the release day. All right,
game day
fair
promo
enough.
was a better card.
All right, so
usually the game day promos are definitely going to be playable, but are not necessarily the best card in the format.
Okay, that's a poor. If it's the release day promo, then that was a poor comparison. But a lot of times, Wizards doesn't like. I'm not saying Wizards is very competent. They know a lot of what they're doing. But a lot of time, it's hard to know when you make a format like how good all these cards are exactly. So if you don't know that, then coding a robot to do that is even harder. So it kind of puts yourself in this bind.
Yeah, and it's even worse because I don't know that they update their rankings necessarily of cards. I don't know how frequently they update it based on what the meta and how, playtesting dictates.
Yeah.
So that meant that for given things like when I said I was good at Amonkhet draft, I know how to draft Amonkhet. I played a lot of it. But on MTG Arena, there were just the picks made no sense that the robots were doing. I could get an aggro deck every single time, a good aggro deck every single time. It might be in white-blue, it might be in white-red, it might be in red-blue. The color combo would necessarily change, but as long as I knew that this is Amonkhet, this is the most aggressive format in a long time, I just need to find which two-color pair has the aggressive deck that's open. I will smash everyone.
Yep.
And did so over and over again. Like, it would make choices about passing. Remember Onward to Victory?
I do.
I got 3 copies of that in one draft.
Yeah, a card feels like very hit or miss, though, right? Like, if you get them, you get them. But
even if it's very hit or miss, it's an uncommon that the front side of it, if you're in white at all, you don't need to be white-red to play that card. You shouldn't get 3 of them.
Yeah, I thought isn't the red side the front side? I thought the red side. No, it's the white side. Okay,
the white side. The red side's the double. Wait, no. Yeah, the red side's the front side. The red side's the plus, and the white side's the double strike side.
Onward, you go, and then Victory, you do the double strike thing. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, that's pretty silly.
It's monocolor on one side. Like every red deck wants to give their creature +X+O in that format. Like all of them. You don't need both halves in that format.
Yeah, one copy of that card is pretty good. I think the second one gets a lot worse, but the first one's like
that was the thing. Like I didn't even play all 3 of them.
Yeah.
But I had 3. Like there are tons of times when I was playing, I'm like, do I play the 3rd copy of Bitterblade Warrior? Yes. Yes, I do.
Yeah, Bitterblade Warrior, that guy was really all the Exert 2 drops were insane in that format.
I know, and there were so many times where I had multiples, and it played out the way you would expect. I got 2 Earthshaker Kenras in one draft.
It's just absurd.
It shouldn't happen. And it's the sort of thing that just makes me feel like the competitive balance, especially in Limited for Magic Arena, is just not useful for gauging how good you are at drafting.
Yeah.
You're picking against... It sometimes feels like there have been times where I've been at a table where I'm drafting with people who are not as experienced as me. Mm-hmm. And it feels like that. Like, you're getting past these removal spells, 8th or 9th pick, and it just makes no sense, and you just take it, and you just beat up on everyone. But the problem is, unlike in those situations where you just dominate the draft and you win the draft, in this situation, everyone's drafting against people who don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, it's kind of funny because Magic Online feels like the polar opposite of that, where, like, you draft what's, like, you think's a really good deck, but, like the picks are, it's so hard to like make that good deck, and then you just get smashed anyway because everyone's really good.
Yeah, in this situation, it's like everyone, regardless of their skill, is drafting at a table where no one knows what they're doing, and then they all bring their weird broken decks against each other, and then it's just this gladiator combat of these broken decks.
Yeah,
like I had a Teferi and a History of Benalia, and I ran into a perfect red-blue Wizards deck. And both of these decks would never have existed, but because of this weird Jurassic Park world we've created, where all of these artificially enhanced beings exist, Now we just get to find out who curved out.
Yeah, it was kind of funny because it's funny you say Teferi and History of Benalia because during the pre-release on Magic Online where they just have like sealed pools or whatever, I opened up one of my sealed pools and had a Teferi and a History of Benalia in it, and I just squished everybody. Like in a normal vacuum, that is unbeatable. But on this weird Magic Arena thing, it's just not the case.
Sometimes you can run into someone who's just like, yeah, I got 2 slime foots.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's
Good
not
luck.
even difficult. That's like not even difficult to do on Arena.
No, exactly. Like if you're in the 2-color combination, I've seen like multiple Howler the Fire Fletchers. I got multiple Squeeze.
Ugh.
Now,
Squeeze.
to be fair, Squeeze not great.
He's all right.
He's number 1 in my heart.
For what it's worth, like Squee, there's a lot of upside to Squee. Being legendary and unable to remove is very good with all that historic shit. But yeah,
and you can loop him with discard effects. Like
It's
better. Let me put it this way: Squee is better than like you shouldn't get 2. Someone should. If you're in red, you want the first Squee.
Yeah, you always want the Squee in red because the format's not aggressive, so you just get paid off for playing this value card.
Yeah, and I ended up with I think 2 Goblin Bombardments for that
Yeah.
value.
Oh man, yeah, that's pretty funny. Like I guess when I say the format's not aggressive, I mean for the most part it's not aggressive. Yeah, there's the red blue Wizards deck, which is pretty aggressive and pretty good.
Yeah,
but for the most part, like you just grind your opponent out in Dominaria, just like try and accrue as much value as possible without getting completely run over in the early game.
And this is kind of the issue: is I've found there are pocket strategies that will work in every format I've tried. Like in Magic 2019, for some reason, the computer seems to undervalue the green-white Auras deck very severely, which means that it will pass things like Knight's Valor and Oakenform, and they're not amazing cards, but if you have a critical mass of them and you know that you can wheel them every single time, then that's a deck you could assemble with regularity.
Yeah.
And that's a format where the uncommons are so much better than the commons, and the rares are so much better than the uncommons, and the mythics are unbeatable.
Yup.
To where if you can guarantee that you're the deck that's going to get uncommons, or you know that you're going to get this aggressive line that if your opponent doesn't have an answer immediately they lose, then you're going to do that. And that means that white-green is not only very easy to draft, it's something that I see other people drafting all the time. You know, they go turn 1 Hawk, turn 2 Knight's Valor. Do you have it?
And like there's even not much it to have. Do they have Plummet? Like there's not even that many
Plummet,
cheap removals.
Murder's
But Murder's like no one has Murder Unlimited. Murder's always picked up. No one ever has the Murder.
That's the thing, is like these specific strategies in every draft format I've gone into in Arena, after I've done like 2 or 3 drafts, at the first time I'm like, oh, I did really good, I understand the format. Then the more you play it, the more you realize it's not that I'm good at it, it's that the computers are really bad, and I could do this every single time, and then it gets boring.
Yeah, it's really funny that you brought up the green, white, Enchantress deck, because a lot of time when you're drafting on Moto, when you're playing, the green, white, Enchantress deck is really risky to go into, because if you don't get the critical mass of the pieces, you just end up with a deck that does very little. But on this Magic Arena thing, it seems like that downside's mitigated, because the robots have no idea what they're doing, so you just always get the pieces you need, and you get there.
Yeah, like if you get 2 of the uncommon, which is not that...
Oh, yeah, the uncommon.
If the uncommon has been passed, the deck is open.
Yep.
And that's actually even more true in Arena. Like, in recent Magic sets, they've made 2-color uncommons to kind of guide you into decks.
Mm-hmm.
And they generally showcase what the deck is capable of, and they're synergistic with all the stuff that the deck wants to do. And in Arena, if you see one of them, that means the deck is open.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, especially
Period.
like in core set, like all the 2-color uncommons are so good. Like every single one of them. If play in the right deck, that is, of course.
Like if I'm sitting at a table with actual humans and I get past one of these cards in the first few picks, I don't take that to be a signal.
Yeah.
You know, maybe there was something else worth picking. In core set uncommon, in core set Magic Arena, I just know that if something got passed to me and it's like 5th or 6th pick, that means the deck is 100% open. Not like there's no question. You know,
yeah.
I don't have to think anymore. I'm just going to take all the cards in these 2 colors, and I hope it works out.
Yeah, that actually makes me pretty sad because a lot of the because like the thing with Magic Online is drafting from an economic standpoint on Magic Online is really bad value. like you get a good experience, but you will the way the prizes are structured, you will most likely lose money when you draft on Magic Online, just because cards aren't, besides like the myth, like the exact staples that are seeing playing standard at that current moment. Besides those cards, the cards aren't worth anything. So you have to do so well in order to make your investment back. So if with Arena not being a great draft simulator, it's kind of, if you're like a draft aficionado, you don't really, it's just not really a great place to go unless you're willing to drop like a lot of money.
Yeah, unless Arena's still in beta, so there's still stuff missing. Like, you can't play against just a friend.
Yeah, that's silly.
You have to get matched up by the server.
Yep.
There's no casual play against another person. There's no, making a group or anything like that. There's no chatting either. In the game, you've got 5 options. It's like, okay, great, oops, a good game.
Yeah, the emotes they don't count. Like, they don't even
you can't communicate with people.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they don't even like actually talk. Like in Hearthstone, they have the same emotes, but like your character actually says the thing when you emote, but doesn't even have that in Arena. Just like little tiny little text.
Exactly. So I expect that some of this stuff will get fixed as they flesh out
the
program. Like, I expect eventually there will be real drafts. Eventually you'll be able to pair against a friend if you wanted to just play competitively, and you can test.
Like, totally. That is definitely not an if, but a when. Like, that, those simple things, 100%.
Yeah. There's no cards outside of standard right now on Arena.
They
will eventually fix that.
Yeah. Will they, though? Actually, I wasn't sure about that, because I know...
I hope. If they've talked about Arena as though it's a separate program from online that's like a separate track of legitimate Magic. And if you're going to say that, you're going to eventually need to have Modern, the most popular format.
But like, it's just like, as I've looked at it, like, they were saying they want Magic Online to still exist as its own thing. So I was just thinking, or at least from what I've read and what I've seen, it feels like they're just going to keep implementing the new sets, but not bother going back to do the old sets.
I hope they bother to go back and do the old
sets.
Yeah,
me too.
I guess we don't know yet. But if they do not do that, right now there's like an argument to be made about which one you should focus on. I think that if you want to, sustainability, in summary, from sustainability and just to get a game, Arena is better.
Yeah.
If you want to actually get better, or if you're excellent at Magic already and want to take it to the next level and make money, online's much better.
Yeah, that's like a perfect summary. If you just want to play a game, play Magic Arena. If you want to play Magic Online.
But if they never go back and implement the old sets in Arena, I don't think the argument's even there.
Really? You think so?
I think that the argument, if you just want to get a game, right, and you don't care all that much. But I think right now there's an argument to be made for standard testing, maybe Arena's just as good.
Right now,
it could be.
I wouldn't say. I've tried both. I mean,
right now it's not.
Yeah.
Right now it's not. But I think you could imagine a world where it's not in beta.
Oh, yeah.
And you've implemented tournaments the same way that you've implemented in online. You can imagine a community coming up around Arena that is similar to online if they put the incentives there to play there.
Yeah.
But if they're not going to bother to implement the older formats, then I can't, in good conscience, use that as my testing format,
Yeah, no, I totally get that. It just feels like for Modern, it's like Modern's like 10 years worth of cards. That is so many cards. That is not something that's going to happen overnight. That seems like it's going to take a long, long time. I'm like, just don't even know how they do it. As we're like on top of staying on top of the formats that are coming out as like every 3 months or whatever.
I'm just hoping that some of the code is reused between the two pieces of software, if not necessarily the actual lines of code, at least the logic.
Yeah.
So that they can implement the old cards much quicker.
Yeah, the thing is,
I don't know.
Yeah, even from someone coming from someone who's invested like over $1,000 in Magic Online, I hope Magic Online dies. Like this format, like the program works, but it would be so great if I could have a real game to play. And actually get real competitive testing on, so I could both have my love for Magic, but also be able to play a real game at the same time. That's why I took a break from Magic for a little while to play Hearthstone, because it just felt like I was having it was a little more enjoyable at times. And I just want that same experience for Magic, because Magic's such a good game and it deserves the best. And I wanted to have it.
It's a better game than Hearthstone,
Oh,
but Hearthstone
so much better.
It is better presented, and it has that ease of use and convenience, and that counts for a lot.
A lot.
So I really hope Arena steps up, and I hope that I don't mind their economic structure. I don't think that it's not the ideal for an entrenched player, but I can see a path to sustainability there, especially if they tweak some things here and there, like if they have higher payout for certain things, or if they had an event that paid out in wildcards.
Yeah, I like the
Something
idea
like
of the
that.
vaults. I think that's good. I'm happy they came up with some way to take your extra cards and put them into something that's actually not terrible. I just wish there was a way that if you had cards that you just don't care about, you could just destroy them for some sort of value to get you towards cards that you do care about. But
Yeah, like dusting.
yeah,
cards.
exactly. Literally just implement dusting wizards, please. I would be so happy if you literally just plagiarized Blizzard and took the exact dusting thing from them. Actually, I don't know. Yeah. Something
if all they did was made a format that paid out in wildcards, something that you could just grind to get the deck you want, something like that. If you could buy wildcards, it's at least not as.
Oh, if you could buy wildcards, that would make me
crapshooty.
so happy. That would be perfect for an invested player like me, who's already willing to drop a lot of money on Magic Online, as long as they do it at a reasonable price, of course.
Yeah, and I mean, that is one of the nice things about Arena is that each mythic is worth the same.
Yep.
It's
That's
one
awesome.
mythic wild card. So unlike in some ways, that was something that I liked with Arena. Nexus of Fate in Magic Online was artificially capped because you could only get it in treasure chests, and the drop rate was super low. So the Turbo Fog deck that now it's a real deck.
Oh, it's so real.
That's being played in Standard. It was artificially depressed on Magic Online because no one could get the cards. They were just too expensive. Whereas Nexus of Fate is just a mythic wild card in Arena. So everyone's Turbo Fog is overrepresented in Arena because it's good and everyone can get it.
Yeah, it's very beatable though. So, but yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from. I absolutely the system. The economics is not perfect, but that is absolutely my favorite part about it. You get a mythic wild card, you can make any mythic you want. You can make that Demon Lord Belloc that might cost you 50 cents, or you can make that Teferi that costs you $50 in real life. It's the same. I feel like that's honestly how it should be. I wish there was a little more like that in Magic Online, but at this point, hoping for something like that is just simply not going to happen. So
yeah, it would wreck too many people.
Yeah, no, it would. The market, and I shouldn't complain. The market on Magic Online is perfectly reasonable. It's just it's the same as paper essentially, except it's even more liquid. So can't really complain. Yeah, I can't complain with that. As an invested Magic player, that's really what I'm bargaining for. That's what I want.
So I think with that, we've covered Arena and Magic Online, their pros and their cons. I think, like we said, Arena, if you want to just get into the game, try and get a beta key. It's a great place to start, and it's got a lot of incentives for new players. If you're entrenched and you want to take the next step, you can't beat online. It's got the killers. The killers live there, and if you want to become one, you must best them.
That's what I was about to say. You start on Magic Online, you're gonna beat up a lot when you start. You might lose a lot of money, but I guarantee it. If you stick through it, you will become very good. My win rate, for the first, I said 2 or 3 years I played Magic Online, was trash. But then there was at one point where I found out what I was doing, and my win rate skyrocketed to 70-something%, which is great. In constructed, obviously, in constructed standard, of course. I'm not good at all formats, just standard. And then from there, I started winning in PPTQs, and I started doing well at GPs, and it all just snowballs. It snowballs faster and faster, the better and better you get. Magic Online is the first step if that's what you want to do. You gotta want it, but if you want it, that's what it does.
Great. So thanks, Kyle, and reminder, if you want to get in touch with the show, you can do so at DeepListensPod on Twitter, deeplistens.libsyn.com. We've got comment sections, and deeplistenspodcast@gmail.com. So thank you, Kyle.
Yeah, it's always fun to be here.
I will talk to you again soon to go over Guilds of Ravnica. This set looks so good.
I know.
So much restraint.
I feel like I had
not talking about it.
I had to hold myself back from all those cards because I'm just oh, man, I really just want to start brewing right away. But I have this thing where I wait until it comes out on Magic Online. I'm I just want to play Standard again. I haven't been able to play a good Standard in a year.
I know. Let me tell you, when you're rocking the MTG Arena queues and you've played Red-Black for the 30th time, You're just like, please, someone. I know that they're not even wrong.
I know. I'm just like, I'm excited. I'm like so excited for Guilds of Ravnica, but I am so excited for Kaladesh to go away forever. Oh my goodness.
Yep.
What a format. And I'm like,
here's this format that the only cards that matter are indestructible gods.
Dude, it's going to be so great when the god's gone. Like, I won a lot of matches using the Scare of God, but I'm not going to. I am happy to say goodbye to it now. Don't need that card anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, my goodness.
We will be reconvening for that shortly.
Yes,
but
we will.
Thank you, listeners. Till next time, peace.